kind of stay overseas, so to speak. They were in Perth. They're in France recently, and Germany, and Brussels, and everywhere. But the big issue was Saudi Arabia has WrestleMania in 2 years, 2027, and it's controversial. We don't necessarily know if a lot of fans will travel out for it, but Nick Khan, who represents the WWE as president, part of TKO, we know that they're kind of treating this event as a gold standard for what the WWE will be globally in the future. Nick Khan came out yesterday. We're recording this on Friday. On Thursday, he made a statement saying he expects the WWE fans to travel to Saudi Arabia and be part of that WrestleMania experience. And we've seen the Saudi shows, Gene. We've seen these overseas shows. It's mainly a lot of locals that drive those markets. So it was interesting that Nick Khan pretty much all but said, nope, we're going to get Americans. We're going to get people from Europe to come every continent and be in Saudi Arabia, where that wasn't what it was in the past. It was all local people. I'm not so sure yet that you're going to see a lot of that. What's your take on this?
Man, like, technically, he's not wrong. You know, there's fans that we've been to WrestleMania together, man. We see there's people who dedicate their lives to this, who are probably saving up every cent now to go over there. Now,
literally every cent at this point.
Yeah. Literally every cent. Yeah, you got to take, like, this, you're pretty much putting a down payment on the mortgage these days for some of these tickets, man. Like, it's crazy. But, like, he's not wrong, right? Like, there's going to be fans who are going to be there. But as far as majority, absolutely not. I would bet anything it's not going to be a majority of fans that aren't from that area that are going to be filling up that stadium. To me, these ticket prices alone are ridiculous, man. And you're telling me fans are going to have to shell out money to fly, travel, and do all this? I just don't see it happening, man. The couch is looking awfully comfortable these days, bro. Like, that $30 is looking very enticing. You're telling me I could be comfortable at home, maybe even go to a local bar with some friends and watch WrestleMania and not have to, give up my spleen or put it on a down payment? I'm down to do that, man. But we love this. We'll see what happens in 2 years. But that's a bold statement to make 2 years out, to me, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's actually interesting too, because it is the global platform of what the UFC has now done really well. We know the fan bases, though, are not the same. WWE is way more family oriented. It's way more diverse in terms of, everybody involved that goes to these shows, where UFC is predominantly, males 25 to 54. That's kind of their demographic. But when it comes to a foreign show, I always thought the first foreign WrestleMania would be London. And I even think John Cena thought that a couple years ago when he hinted at it when he was over there. That, to me, would have made more sense in terms of getting everybody to travel in. Saudi Arabia is another battle for a lot of reasons we don't really have to get into, but it's not London. It's not, you're not going to Germany. You're not even going to, let's throw in like Brazil, the way they've done with UFC, where it's, South America to North America, not the hardest trip to make in the world. Saudi Arabia will be a challenge. Again, you're right. There are fans that go every time. There's fans that will show up. But if it's more than 25% that travel, I'd be a little bit surprised. I do expect a high majority of the fan base for those 2 days. And who knows, maybe it's 3 days by then. I mean, we don't know. We think it's 2 days, but who's to say they don't add a Friday night? And all of a sudden, though, I think it will be a high majority of Saudi fans that go. And, there's nothing wrong with that. But I do think Nick Khan's kind of throwing it out there now, because the TKO UFC banner, that's the projection that they want, is every event we do now, including events in America, are global and international. And you were, and you even said this, you were able to put on Netflix when you were in Jamaica and watch, because everywhere but the United States, all their PLEs are now on Netflix, but here it's ESPN in the States. So it truly is as global as it's ever been. But Nick Khan, he knows what he's doing. Yeah, I mean, if you say one thing, the Vince McMahon, his last 5 years at WWE had a lot of interesting, shaky, probably not so good moments. Hiring Nick Khan was probably the smartest move Vince McMahon made over the last 10 years. And Nick Khan is looking at this as it's global. It's about the big show. It's not about the little stuff anymore. And we look at Saudi the same way we look at every other show. And it's the entire WWE universe that's going to be there.
Well, I got one question for you. If you're booking night 1 and night 2 of WrestleMania in Saudi, what is the biggest match you can make at this point that's gonna get a fan to be like, you know what, I have to be there?
I think something Stone Cold related. If you can get Stone Cold to agree, especially maybe a Punk Stone Cold type of deal. Now maybe you make it a triple threat just to get one more face on the poster. But I do think you write Stone Cold Steve Austin a $30 million check or whatever it takes. Obviously,
they got the money, man. They got it.
I mean, obviously, The Rock would be another one. If you ever want to get The Rock back, now would be the time. I think Undertaker at this point is pretty washed. I just don't know if he's capable of doing much more than what he did, at WrestleMania 40, where it's a choke slam. And
I think a choke slam, surprise choke slam, he's always good for that.
But I think it has to be Austin, The Rock in some capacity. Those are the two guys. I don't think Triple H's heart is going to allow him. Like, I think that's an actual serious issue. If somehow you can get Triple H to stand in a corner and maybe do one pedigree and that's about it, not the worst idea to throw out there. But to me, it's Stone Cold Steve Austin. And we saw Stone Cold when him and Kevin Owens had that street fight to end WrestleMania. He looked the part. I mean, he actually was taking some moves onto the concrete that I did not think would happen.
How long ago was that?
And it was a few years back. At this point, I think it's going on, what, four years, I want to say, maybe 5 years. But, and look, it's about the show. So it's not like you necessarily need one of these guys to have the 27-minute match that AJ Styles and John Cena just had. But to me, if you're going to make it the Saudi spectacle, having Stone Cold on that poster, having The Rock on that poster, those are kind of the headliners that you absolutely need. Maybe by that point, I don't know enough about contracts, but if, let's say, a guy like MJF is available and you can somehow bring him in from an AEW, he would be somebody that would be marketable that they've never had. I'm just throwing out names that we just haven't seen on Mania cards. And then, of course, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre. Those are all guys, too, that can be very much in that mix.
Yeah, it should be. To me, I'm expecting this show to be one of the most stacked cards in the history of pro wrestling. And we're 2 years out. They got I'd be surprised if they're not already putting pen to paper, trying to lock this down to get this out the way, because this show, they have to deliver. At the end of the day, they have to deliver.
And look, we've already said match of the decade. Now we're already projecting the 2027's WrestleMania in Saudi. That's what we do. That's why we love pro wrestling. Thank you so much for watching The Pin Down, the Sports Illustrated Pro Wrestling Show. Kent Brown, Gene Chery, thanks again.